All right, so today we're going to be breaking down TJR Trade's $1.1 million per month sales funnel. I'm not going to try to sound smart here by using any kind of fancy words or anything like that. I'm just going to give you the exact value you came to this video for, which is to know exactly how he gets traffic, nurtures that traffic, and then converts that traffic into paying customers. Without any further ado, I don't want to waste any of your time, so let's just get straight into it. We're going to break down his TikTok, his Instagram, his YouTube, his podcast, his X. We're going to go into his entire landing page, his VSL, and of course also his checkout page and all the mental cues he's using there. So anyways, let's get into it. For the actual TikTok, he has about 1.4 million followers, one of one floor boss, same exact thing that he has on every singular platform. And then of course, join my 3-day live trading combine. Here he is again going even further into the goofy aesthetic that he has with this frankly just funny profile picture. But basically the rest of his content is mostly just a lot of random stuff, you could say. But it's a lot of just him goofing around, making videos about either big things that are happening on the internet, or sometimes he also does actually talk about big trading things that are happening across the internet. For example, like if something happened in the news, for example, if Trump came in, he made a video about that as well and everything like that. And he also sometimes talks about mindset, and he also sometimes does talk about how, I guess, not just political, but natural events are affecting the markets as well, right? And sometimes, of course, he made this video, which is just defending himself from the haters, which he does quite a bit. He doesn't do it too much. Again, if you overdo this, you just sound insecure. But he does it every once in a while just to be like, hey, I know that this is happening, and here's me disproving it for those people who do believe it. Anyways, the main goal of the TikTok is just to get a ton of traffic into the funnel. And basically, the way the TikTok actually works, I know a lot of you guys might have known this already, but it actually works kind of like an upside down pyramid. So basically, what happens is that TikTok will show your content to about this block of people first, right? This will be, let's say, the first 24 hours. These are arbitrary numbers. It's obviously way bigger than this and way more infinite than this and way more variable than this, but these are arbitrary numbers just for like explanation's sake. And then it'll show it to a bigger group of people, then another bigger group of people, then an even bigger group of people, until you get left with this big ass pyramid, right? Now, the way this kind of works is, again, don't take these numbers as law, but these are just arbitrary numbers. Let's say it shows this is your 5% of your most devoted following, people who watch almost every single one of your videos. If the video passes that, which almost all the time it does, which is where all of these, this base level of views, I guess, like every single creator has this specific base level of views where they will never really go underneath that. That is your 5% of your following that will always watch your video. Next is the other percent, which TikTok is going to send to your next 15%, the next most devoted part of your following. After that, it's going to send it to the next 50%. All right. That's the next most devoted part of your following. Then it's going to send it to 100% of your following. All right. Now, this point is where a lot of these big creators will completely stop. But after that, if you can keep going, it will just infinitely keep going up and exposing you to even more, I guess, like cold and warm audiences, right? For example, let's say plus 10%, stuff like that. It'll slowly keep on engaging more cold audiences throughout the funnel steps. Now, obviously, there are a few cold audiences that see these, and that's how you get followers, but they are not at all as big as when you actually breach that gap where your view count is actually greater than your follower number. It is almost never that, like it is almost not even close at all, right? So that's how TikTok kind of works. And that's why it's not really at all good for nurturing, because TikTok's algorithm is extremely unforgiving and it will instantly kick you out of any of these tiers if they notice that your video is even slightly not engaging. It'll instantly kick you out and flop your video right away, right? Around even most videos will flop around about these two phases instantly. That's why it's so unforgiving. But that's a really good pro as well for a lot of these short form content creators, where what they will do is that they'll go ahead and just post videos on TikTok and see if the algorithm kind of favors them. And if it gets any further than these two blocks, they repost it onto Instagram and make sure that the Instagram audience that they are trying to nurture, which I'll get into all of this in a quick second, actually gets the best content possible, right? Anyways, that was the whole TikTok strategy. But what about the Instagram? So for the Instagram, he has about 1.3 million followers, which means he has less followers on the Instagram than on the TikTok, which is pretty uncommon. But the way that basically, I guess, TJR's brand works, it makes a lot of sense, right? Just because he makes a lot of funny videos. That's why it's going to go pretty viral on TikTok. As you can see, TJR trades, and he also has a clothing brand called Kill Tech. Same exact, same exact bio, but he also has the link to the combine in the description right here. And I'll get into this whole combine in a second because this is the whole funnel that he's trying to do. It's a 3-day live event, and I'll get into the whole landing page and all that jazz in a quick second. But for the actual, whatchamacallit, the story highlights. For the actual story highlights, you'll see that they're all almost testimonials. Almost all of them are entirely just testimonials on top of testimonials on top of testimonials. Every once in a while, as you can see, this one is life, and then he'll also have, I do believe, one or two more lifestyle story highlights. What life is that it's basically showing off TJR's lifestyle. And the reason that this exists is just because if you show off your lifestyle, especially in the B2C space, when people obviously, I'm pretty sure if you guys have heard this saying, which is that if you want to impress poor people, you just show off your money. If you want to impress rich people, you work harder than them, right? But that also applies in these funnels. So if you can just spend more money than your B2C counterparts, they will be like, hey, this guy seems like he's really rich. And that means that what he's doing actually works, right? That's why these Lambos, these Rolexes, and these flexing YouTubers actually get so much money. These Miami course sellers, they get so much money because people buy their info products because they have Lambos and Rolexes, just because they're in awe and they want that for themselves. They see that dream life within the person. And obviously, if they can afford this stuff, that's at least in the consumer's mind, how else would they be able to afford this stuff unless they actually knew what they were doing, I guess, right? So that's in the consumer's mind, right? That's one of the biggest reasons that these lifestyle pieces of content work so well. Same thing on the actual Instagram here. He's making a lot of raw and authentic content. And recent video, he basically was making a little bit of a reel where he was doing charity, but he was also kind of making fun of it. Well, not making fun of it, but kind of just making a funny reel as he does. I do believe this was AI generated. It had Sora all over it. So either he's messing with us or he did actually make it AI generated. But anyways, he makes a lot of these kind of meme-ish reels where he literally just talks to the camera with the most crazy facial expressions, sometimes the most crazy actions that he's doing. And every once in a while, he'll show off his car. And then other times he'll just make absolutely, I guess, random ass videos. And then of course sometimes you'll make these motivational videos as well, which again also get a lot of views, and almost all these videos get quite insane amounts of views in general. But the motivational and the funny videos are basically what his Instagram is for, because the main goal here is not just to, I guess, make TJR an authority. It's more to be like, hey, I'm human and I'm kind of like you, right? That's why TJR's brand is so powerful. It's so relatable to so many people because he doesn't take himself too seriously. But the place he builds authority is actually in the YouTube, which I'm going to go ahead and break down right here, and in the podcast as well. So for the YouTube, he has just over 1 million subscribers. He literally just hit this around, I think, the day that I'm making this video. But as you can see, same exact link in the description, YouTube. And for the actual content he's making very raw and authentic YouTube videos that are a lot of the time just trade streams almost, right? They're just VODs that he takes where he is literally just live day trading. As you can see right here, he live day trades, takes the VODs and puts them up on YouTube. And the reason he does this, and he does this almost daily, he posts literally daily. And the reason he does this is just because this, I guess, make sure that he has a ton of undeniable proof. The reason that this works is because if you're live and you're trading, there is physically no way for you to fake it, right? Because you're on the same market as everybody else. They can tell if you're faking it. And if you can win while doing that, you will still, build so much social proof that it's absolutely insane. And it's not like he just shows, I'm winning, whatever, right? He also shows when he loses, like when he loses some big amount of money, he still shows that. Like recently, he hasn't lost really anything at the moment, but he used to lose a lot of stuff, and he would always say, hey, losing this amount of money, because that's also shocking to a lot of people, because they want to learn, hey, how did he lose that, and how do I avoid losing that amount of money myself? This is a ton of education for a ton of traders, and it's building so much authority for TJR, and it's a huge contrast between his Instagram and his TikTok content. And one of the biggest reasons that this works so well is that he never links his YouTube in his Instagram or TikTok. So his most devoted viewers, those are the people who go to his YouTube. And I can bet you like $1 million that he is making 80% of his income off of YouTube. No matter how many followers he has, he cannot be making that much money off of Instagram just because of the nature of the content that he makes and also just the nature of the platform. I'll tell you, basically for anybody else, if they have an equal amount of YouTube subscribers, they are always going to be making more money off of YouTube than they are off of any short form platform. That's simply the way that they work because nurturing is just not that powerful on short form platforms. And I know I've been talking about nurturing quite a bit, and I'll get into this again in a quick second. But again, the other types of content that he makes is these kind of trading courses and these trading specific videos, right? They're just like explaining his trading strategy, what breakout structure is, or specific ideas in trading. He'll explain them, right? So for example, it could be price action, it could be highs and lows, whatever, right? He's just explaining specific concepts within trading, and these are the videos that are getting even more authority building for TJR, and these are the more valuable videos that he posts, and these are also the videos that go the most viral because they have a lot of editing in them. But I can again say that the bottom of funnel content that he's posting with these live day trading videos, that's what's making him the most money by far, right? Because these videos, although they're giving away a ton of value, they're still not as much proof as these videos, because it's just undeniable proof that how is he winning while he's on live streams? Because he actually is good at trading. So he's building that undeniable proof, and then he's giving you more value here. So you are literally overwhelmed with a sea of value and a sea of proof. So you literally cannot not believe him, unless you're basically just insane, right? It's impossible to not believe him. That's the whole point. That's what you want to do with your content. That's what you want to do with your funnels. And that's why I really like breaking down TJR's funnel, because he's so good at all of these things. And that's why he's been so successful. And he puts up this kind of, goofy facade on the internet, but he is a really, really good businessman on the back end. I'm not completely sure if this is him doing all of this stuff himself. It might be somebody else that's working with him, but again, he's really good at what he does. That's just why he's making so much money. And of course, if you guys want somebody who's this good at what he does, or somebody who is able to get you to a point where you know a lot about info and you're able to scale, and you want to have those brains behind your operation so you can scale as fast as TJR, go ahead and check the first link down below. DM me on Instagram. We can go ahead and talk, because I help coaches and consultants do the exact same thing that TJR is doing here. I help them monetize their existing audience with info products, or of course help them scale their existing info products to multi six figures. So of course, go ahead and DM me on Instagram. We can go ahead and talk, hop on a call together. If we vibe, we can go ahead and work together. If not, no worries. We do not need to at all. You're going to walk away with a ton of value either way. Anyways, getting back into the 7-11-4 rule. Now, the reason I keep talking about nurturing is because it's so important. But nurturing basically comes down to something I like to call the 7-11-4 rule. 7-11-4 rule stands for 7 hours of content consumed, 11 different touch points consumed, and 4 different locations. What that basically means is that this was a study done by Google on how long it takes for a prospect to consume your content to finally buy one of your products, right? And they stated that a person needs to consume 7 hours of your content, so that could be 7 of TJR's videos on YouTube, 11 different touch points, that could be 11 different reels, right? 11 different videos, whatever, right? Because the touch points parameter is where the reels and the TikToks really shine, and that's why these Instagram only funnels like Samuel Millsap or Shelby Sapp, all these guys' funnels, that's why they work, because they have so many touch points. Just the sheer number of touch points on their short form platforms gives them a huge advantage, which is again the same thing with TJR as well. 4 different locations just means different places where you see TJR's face, and that also makes it way more likely that you buy. And your main goal when you're building out a funnel is that you want to accelerate this as fast as physically possible. And one of the best ways to do that is to make value-packed and long-ass videos. Because if you can make very long videos, people will watch through all of them, and they will only need to watch through a few of them to actually get nurtured enough to buy your product. And if you are trying to run a short form only platform or short form only funnel, you want to pump out as much content as physically possible so that people see your face as much as possible, again, so that they're more likely to convert. And of course, if you have a lack of locations or you don't have that many places where people can see your face, I'd recommend running retargeting ads or something along those lines, just to make sure that people will always see your face in different areas, right? That is also going to increase the number of people that convert in the end. That's why all of these huge people, like for example, Iman's recent event, retargeting ads were a huge part of the monetization strategy within that event. And I got quite a few of them, and it's probably the same for you guys if you did sign up for it. Now, next is, I also want to break down the podcasts that TJR has been on. These are also a huge part of the funnel. As you can see, they get huge views, like 400,000, 156,000, 48,000. All of these are just podcasts with people I believe TJR likes, and he just hops on these podcasts to, again, nurture people way more, because he's literally talking to a person for an hour or 2 hours straight. And it's also a place for him to tell his story, because he can't really do that on his main page, mostly, right? But it's a really good place for him to tell his personal story on these podcasts to these people, because when you see his podcast, he kind of recaps his whole story of going from zero to hero, and that really kind of makes you, I guess, feel like you know him better. Like, for example, let's say you talk to a good friend of yours. If you did not know that friend for a long time and you did not know where they came from, you would be, and there's a lot of mysteriousness around that person, you would trust them less and you would not want to give them as much stuff. And that's fine. But that's the same thing that's happening with your prospect within info. So what you want to do is that you want to remove that air of mysteriousness. Obviously, keep a little bit of it, because if you throw everything about you out there, people are going to be less attracted to you in general to talk to you or see your content. But you want to give them enough information where it's like, my story, I'm like you, I was like you. I'm not just flexing these Rolexes, Lambos with nothing to show for it. I used to be like you, and I went from there to here, so I can probably help you reach my position as well, because you seem like you were in a similar place as me again, right? And that's why these stories and these podcasts are so powerful, because when you have a main page that can't do this stuff, podcasts are a really good way to get more eyeballs and, of course, more places to share your story. And I'd recommend for TJR to add a story highlight as well that recaps his whole story. That would be great as well, because that's another big strategy that you can use to do the same kind of thing as podcasts without the nurturing, of course, and without the new views, but it still accomplishes one of the most important goals, which is telling your story. So that's a great idea for TJR. I mean, if he's watching this video, you can go ahead and implement this, my man. But next, we're going to move into the X, right? For the X, if you guys don't want to watch this, and if you aren't on X, you can go ahead and just skip forward like a minute or two, and I'll break down his landing page. But I just want to quickly go over his X for the people who are active on there, and for the people that will actually, want to listen to it. So first of all, same exact, I guess, links, as you can see, 200,000 followers, and then you'll see that he has a big case study right here. That's the main thing that he has on his X with the pinned video. He has a whole entire 22-minute case study that he shows a 20-year-old trader going from unprofitable to 93,000 in 90 days. And he's had this for like upwards of 6-7 months, brother. Sorry, no, it's been like actually a year that he's had this, right? And the reason he has this is just because this is a huge case study with a ton of social proof for him to show his audience on X, right? Because X is mostly a ton of bottom of funnel or middle of funnel prospects. That's why you have to tailor your content to them specifically. And a lot of the time, you'll see that he posts these absolutely random tweets, and I'm not going to go and break those down. Those are just to, again, do the same thing as on Instagram, show himself as humanized, show himself as relatable to the, I guess, younger generation that he is targeting to sell, right? Again, he's slowly just talking about these things, and most of these things are just those random stuff, or those random tweets that he's talking about. But at the bottom right here, as you can see, he sometimes drops like big nuggets of value that also kind of add in a little bit of value to the person's life, but also recap world events. Just like I said on his Instagram, he sometimes recaps world events and how they're affecting trading, and what people should do, like hold, close, whatever it might be, so that people also get value from his X, so that they stick around for those small nuggets of value, right? Because if you only just post like random bullcrap on your X, obviously nobody's going to care about it. But if you actually post value, for example, what he posts with some of these no trades this week or whatever it might be, and these like trade updates, you will then get more people to watch your tweets, just because they are excited for those 1 or 2 tweets that you post every once in a while. And he does this regularly. TJR always does these, where he basically recaps all of his trades and explains why he doesn't do each of them, which is a huge, again, nugget of value. That's the biggest reason that a lot of people are staying on his X, which is what I think, right? Obviously, this is just from outside looking in, but I've seen this multiple times, and that's usually the reason that people stay on your X, for these nuggets of value. And also, these random tweets, they have a purpose, which is just to, I guess, do the same thing as on Instagram, but they are supposed to keep your bottom of funnel viewers engaged with you. So as you tweet more and more and more, it's more likely that your bottom of funnel viewers will see more of your tweets. And if they see more of your tweets, they will get more nurtured, as I said before. Even if they literally just see random bullcrap, they will get nurtured if it's your face that's saying that, right? And so as they get more and more and more nurtured, you're also going ahead and getting the advantage of making sure that these bottom of funnel people stay on your page, because the moment that they stop watching your tweets, that's when they've stopped engaging with your page. And if they get interested in something else in the meantime while you're not posting, that is going to be a huge reason that you're going to lose out on a lot of money. That's why you want to make sure to be posting consistently and as much as physically possible if you're on X, because it's so easy to post on X. You really don't have to do that much effort, obviously. And you just kind of need to post as much as possible so that more people see your stuff. And if you want to grow on X, obviously the whole reply strategy is a whole nother can of worms, but you kind of just want to reply to big people and hope that they reply to you as well. Now, again, we've broken down all the content. We've broken down his entire, social media strategy. Now let's see where he's funneling all of these people. And that place is the 3-day live combine, as you can see. This is his VSL. I'll break this down in a quick second. But basically all he does in this is that he tells you the exact date, tells you the exact time, and he hypes you up and tells you all the value propositions and kind of goes over your specific pain points. If you guys are interested in understanding the exact structure of VSL, I have a whole VSL video on my channel. Go ahead and check it out. It's a full course. I literally posted it pretty recently. Go and check that out if you want any more information on VSLs. I'm not going to break it down here because this video would be like 40 minutes long if I broke that down. But other than that, as you can see for the title, unlock the shortcut to day trading success, learn to trade in only 3 days. A little bit of a value proposition. You will learn to trade in only 3 days. So he's targeting very big new and beginner traders. A little bit of social proof, and then of course join the combine now, and you'll also see a little bit of urgency with this early bird pricing thing. More social proof with the Trustpilot reviews and WAP number 1. I really like the Trustpilot. The reason Trustpilot is so good compared to those fake ass 5-star reviews that you guys have on your sites is just because Trustpilot is going to result in more people converting, just because people are more familiar with Trustpilot. They've seen it more times, so it's more believable, therefore, right? They've seen it so many times that they're like, hey, this is probably real. I've seen this so many times. I believe it more. That's how humans work. That's why it works, right? I can't really complain. That's how it works. Live virtual event with TJR at November 8th. What you're going to learn, and this is a quick breakdown of everything you need to expect. Confused prospect does not buy. He's just explaining everything that's going to happen throughout the combine, so you know everything. How to create a mechanical system, blah, blah, blah. Day 1, day 2, day 3. He's also going over the whole curriculum. So if you vibe with any of these questions or vibe with any of these topics, you will be more likely to actually buy, right? That's another value proposition for going ahead and recapping. For some reason, he did not center this one, which kind of pisses me off, but that's unrelated anyways. But that was, yeah, just whatever. All right, anyways, secure spot is the CTA. He also then goes ahead and gives you 2 paths. So it's like joining nothing and joining the combine. He is explaining ignorance debt to you, basically. And he's saying that there's path A, which is skipping the combine, which is stupid. And the path B, which is attending. That's smart, right? That's what he's basically trying to say here. As you can see, he's kind of digging into your pain points here. And he's, of course, hyping up the combine even more. He then goes ahead and explains his entire story and shows that, hey, this is your coach. This is me. This is who you're going to be coached by, so that you know him better. Just because if you don't know the person you're being coached by, why would you buy their stuff? And I did realize this pretty recently, but an interesting thing that this has as an effect to your landing page is that when somebody hops on your landing page, it kind of moves them into a corporate mode where they feel like they're being sold to. So if they don't see your face on your landing page, they're going to treat it as a unbranded landing page, almost, not fully, but almost. So you want to put your face on your landing page like 1 or 2 times minimum. That could include your VSL's thumbnail, of course, but you want to put it there 1 or 2 times minimum. And of course, if you go any higher than that, then it just looks like you're an idiot. But as long as you put it there 1 or 2 times in some tasteful areas, that actually makes it more likely for people to buy somehow, just because that kind of borrows your reputation from you onto your landing page, if that makes sense. So your landing page kind of takes some of that reputation from you and pays it off and is like, yo, you know this guy, you like him, buy this if you like him, I guess, if that makes sense. For featured speakers, he's also again borrowing the reputation of Umar Ashraf, Orangey, more trades just by showing off their faces, of course, because everybody who knows them is going to go ahead and be like, hey, these guys are hopping on. I'm excited for this combine if these guys are on there. And this is just going to make them more likely to buy as well. Where, when, and what. Again, the confused the confused prospect does not buy. So he wants to explain every single thing about the event before it actually happens so that he makes sure that you know everything before the event so that you can make the most, I guess, informed decision, which is, of course, what every prospect wants to make, the most informed decision before the event, just so there's no unknowns. As long as there's no unknowns, there's no place where the prospect can poke holes in your sales argument. Does that, if that makes sense? So if there's more unknowns, if prospects don't know that much, there is more of a chance that they will go ahead and see your sales argument and they'll be like, hey, you never said that. You never said this. You never said that. And you will be shocked at the like sheer, I guess, carelessness, or not really carelessness, but just the sheer lack of observational skills that humans have, I guess. So people are not going to easily look at your value proposition and understand each and every single thing. You need to hammer it home constantly throughout your landing page, the same stuff again and again, because people need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. They need to be constantly reminded that, hey, this is your this is the value proposition that I'm giving you. This is the value proposition that I'm giving you. This is the value proposition that I'm giving you again. You want to keep on repeating that constantly, because trust me, people are not going to be annoyed. They're just going to be grateful that you're actually making them remember that you're making them understand that. Obviously, don't do it in the same way again and again, but you want to vary the way or delivery of the specific text, but you want to keep the core message the same. And then at the bottom, a quick risk reversal for anybody who's on the fence, and then frequently asked questions, again, for more people that are on the fence. Then once you check out, right, an interesting thing that I noticed is that if you press the general access or even the VIP, he actually moves you over to this page, and he allows you to again make the same choice, just because the more touch points you can have, the better and more likely they are to upsell. Like maybe if you've ever had that experience where you're like kind of 50-50 between two options, and you click on you just autopilot click on the cheaper option, and you're like, maybe I would have bought the more expensive option. I'm so close to buying the more expensive option, but I've already bought the cheap one. Might as well just check out, right? That has happened to a lot of people, and I'm pretty sure you guys can probably remember a time that's happened to you. But this is kind of combating that and making sure that, hey, you know, the VIP ticket's there, bro. If you still want to go for the general admission, you can, but VIP ticket's way better. He goes over VIP bonuses. He gives you the whole checkout page up here as well, and he defaults to the VIP ticket as well, because that just makes it easier for people to purchase the VIP ticket. Even if they press the $50 ticket, it'll default to VIP, which some people may find unethical. I just think it's sales. It's not that crazy, but again, one step away from learning how to do X, Y, and Z value proposition, checkout, VIP bonuses, blah, blah, blah. Then more frequently asked questions. And I'm assuming after this, he has a whole show up flow, a whole call booking flow. And then I'm assuming that on the event, he's going to go ahead and upsell people. But anyways, that was TJR Trades, $1 million per month sales funnel. Sorry, $1.1 million per month sales funnel, broken down into the nitty gritty. Hope you got a ton of value from that video. If you are interested in working with me, go ahead and check the first link down below. If you are a coach, consultant, or an agency owner who's interested in scaling their info product or wants to start an info product with an existing audience, again, you have to have an existing audience to go ahead and work with me. But if you have an existing audience and you want to monetize that existing audience with an info product, or you want to scale your info product that you already have, go ahead and check the first link down below. DM me on Instagram. We can talk. And, you know, if we vibe, we can book in a call. From there, we can work together. Either way, even if we don't work together, you're going to walk away with a ton of value either way. So it's a no-brainer for you. Go ahead and check that first link down below. If you don't want to do any of that and you just want to watch another one of my videos, go ahead and check this one out right here, because YouTube thinks that you'll like it. If you want to watch the whole funnel breakdowns playlist with upwards of $100,000 worth of sauce with 40 other funnel breakdowns just like this, check it out right here. And of course, if you do want to leave a like and subscribe, which I would appreciate, go ahead and subscribe here. Like is down below the video. Hoping to see you in this next video. Goodbye.